Welcome everyone to Bet What Happens Live. I'm your host, Nick Giffen, predictive analyst here at Action Network. And joining me for this Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern slate, my buddy Gilles Gallant of The Touchdown Show. Gilles, how's it going, buddy?
It's going good. Just watching this Eagles-Bucs game, watching Baker Mayfield pretty much just tear them up as we kind of projected. And I was able to get Mike Evans touchdown early. Trey Palmer, he wasn't even pissed, and he still scored a touchdown. So really enjoying how this game is playing out. And of course, Eagles-Packers, which we'll talk about in a bit. Pretty much a one-sided affair so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's focus on this Tampa Bay Philly game for now, since they're at halftime first. Baker Mayfield, 22 of 33 for 237 and 2 touchdowns. You're thinking maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could keep pressing here, don't you?
I do. And so far coming into the game, like his over under for passing yards was 231. He's already exceeded that at halftime. And the Eagles were showing a little bit of a push there in the second quarter. And I think the Bucs are going to keep the pedal to the metal. So I'm kind of looking at some of the passing formula here and whether or not there might be some potential overs for Baker Mayfield. So I'm going to look up his passing yards right now just to see where we're at. And right now he's about 310 and a half, 310. So over under around that at FanDuel.
Yep, we're showing 327 and a half. So let's take the over on Baker Mayfield
Let's get it
passing
going.
yards, 310 and a half. I know you were already looking at the over. The model says over. So let's do it, right, Jill?
Yeah. So but somebody has to catch those passes. So, wondering if maybe we could look at somebody else to receive those. So right now, uh, Chris Godwin's about 72 and a half. He's been pretty effective in the first half. He's got 54 yards in the first half so far. K. Otten, he is around 30 and a half. His over-under is at 34 and a half. Maybe let's start with Chris Godwin. Is there any value showing maybe for some more receiving yards here in the second half?
Yeah, so we're looking at what, 72 and a half there for Godwin thereabouts?
That's at FanDuel. I'm just going to pull up what we've got at DraftKings as well. But yeah, just about the same 73 and a half at DraftKings.
Okay,
So
yeah. We have overvalue on 72 and a half. We're showing around 59% to the over. And while Tampa Bay does not start with the ball in the second half, if the Eagles were to score here and close things up, that certainly would still keep Tampa throwing. So I think that 59% is relatively fair. So you're
yeah,
going to take
I
Godwin's
want to
over
take Chris
here?
Godwin for sure. Yeah. And coming into the game, his over under was at 64 and a half. So again, very much trending for anybody who bet it pregame. But again, at halftime, I still think that there's value that we could be looking at his overs even more.
All right, so we're going to go with Chris Godwin over 72 and a half receiving yards. You can get that minus 118 at FanDuel. If you're looking over at DraftKings, I think the juice might be different. Yeah, well, it's 74 and a half there, so don't take that. But it would be minus 115 there. But minus 118 over 72 and a half at FanDuel for Chris
Yeah, I
Godwin.
like that one. So before we move on from the Bucs side, I'm just kind of wondering, like the running game. I mean, Bucky Irving's been way more effective than Rachaad White so far from what we've seen. And I'm wondering is the running game, like they haven't really been using it too much. I think the running game. So I'm wondering if maybe there's maybe a Rachaad White fade out there that we could look at. I just want to look at his rushing prop right now. He's at 33 yards. Total is at 50 and a half at FanDuel. Let me just get it here at DraftKings here. Yeah, same thing. It's probably about, yeah, 49 and a half at DraftKings.
That actually seems a little low. So probably avoid that one.
Oh, that went up to 51 and a half now at DraftKings, just like
51 and
that.
a half. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll avoid that one though, because the model is showing some overvalue on Rachaad White, but
Hmm.
I think you're right. If Bucky cuts into his work there a little bit more, then maybe it's not going to be quite as good.
Well, I was just thinking too, is if this game continues to be a 3-score game, like maybe they do end up going with the run there. But I'm still seeing the way
Sure.
that the Bucs are playing. I really want to focus on their passing game. Do you want to talk about the Eagles, or is there anybody else on the Bucs that you were wanting to look at? Because
Uh, yeah, I was to say we can go ahead and go over to the Eagles.
all right. So Jalen Hurts coming into this game, 200 passing yards over under. Right now, it's still at 190 and a half, and he has just looked awful throwing the ball. 49 yards, 715. He does have a passing touchdown to Paris Campbell in the goal line, which Probably should have been a tush push, but again, they probably wanted to get away from that with Vita Vea down there in the middle. I'm looking at a fade on Hurts, and dare say it, like I'm looking at an interception prop as well. So let's start with the passing yards. Is there any value on fading the under on Jalen Hurts on passing yards, even though they are starting the ball with in the second half?
No, if anything, we'd be showing overvalue. Our model has the Eagles passing about 12.5% more than their pregame projection. So we're looking at, the Eagles throwing most of the second half, given that they're down. And so we're actually showing Jalen Hurts at 200 live projection. Plus, they start with the ball. So I'd even mentally adjust that over. But that means there's probably some good potential for an interception.
Thank you. That's the perfect transition I was looking for. Because right now, at one book at FanDuel, I'm seeing -115 on each side to throw an interception. It's probably not great value, but I'm just
Yeah.
kind of wondering if there's anything on that spot. But let me just look around a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm seeing -115 at both DraftKings and FanDuel. So unless there's something way better than that, it's probably going to be a pass simply because,
Mhm.
that's Jalen Hurts is around even money or a little bit favored to throw an interception, right? In some of these cases, maybe -130. But now if he's only -115 halfway through the game, it's not really enough value there.
So then on the flip side, if we're thinking that Baker's going to be throwing the ball a little bit more, his odds now, they opened at -130 pregame. They're now at +310 to throw an interception in the second half. This
Yeah,
reminds me a
plus,
lot of the Derek Carr analogy. Remember, we cashed on him in week 2, even though it
yep.
was similar score, similar situation. I don't
I
know.
like it. I like
Yeah,
it. I like it. We can do a half unit on that one.
that's
What
what
do
I
you
was going
think?
to
Since
say.
it's
Let's
so
do
long.
that.
All right, we'll
All right.
do Baker Mayfield to throw an interception +310 for half a unit. I'm showing +275, +280 in that neighborhood as fair value. So we're definitely getting some value on that at +310, especially if the Eagles were to close things up late in this game. But just the way Tampa Bay has been throwing, I mean, Baker Mayfield already has 33 passing attempts. That's pretty crazy. So if they keep their foot on the gas, certainly Baker Mayfield interception is within the realm of possibility. And he's one of those guys that does tend to force things a little bit, does tend to throw a few bad balls, had one of the highest bad ball rates last year.
So from a touchdown perspective, we're already like, I'm kind of wondering, we're double dipping on the interception here. I was kind of wondering if maybe we want to double dip on the Godwin touchdown, because Godwin at FanDuel right now is 6-1 to catch a touchdown in the second half at FanDuel right now. Let me get another odds here at DraftKings. Yeah, 6-1. It's pretty much 6-1 across the board. Wondering if we want to maybe just maybe even a quarter unit, just dip into the touchdown market on Godwin as
Let's do
well.
that. Yeah, we have +575 is fair. And while Tampa Bay doesn't start with the ball, it's the same kind of thing. If Philly were to score, that would keep it still at some value there. So let's do a quarter unit on Chris Godwin, anytime touchdown, +600 at
Hmm.
FanDuel.
But now, obviously, like we think the passing game is going to increase here a little bit on the Eagles side. They've
Mhm.
kind of skewed it this way, especially with them starting the second half. Like even at FanDuel right now, Saquon hasn't really done much in this game. He's still only +170 to get a touchdown. Dallas Goedert probably around 320. Your guy Jahan Dotson, former commander, around 480. I'm not really sure if we're still showing any value. But then I'm looking at a guy like Johnny Wilson, who's a bigger target. He was around 5-1 coming into the game, but he's around +750s. I think I've seen +700 at I'm just wondering, is there any value on maybe like one of these pass catchers for the Eagles to get a touchdown?
Yeah, we have +715 as fair on both Johnny Wilson and Paris Campbell to get a second touchdown. So +750 is pretty thin on Johnny Wilson, but the Eagles do start with the ball here, and they're going to be throwing a lot. So if there was one Eagles pass catcher that we should take, Johnny Wilson is probably the one that we're showing the best value on because Dallas Goedert, not enough value there per our model, and similar for Jahan Dotson.
Okay, so by that same token, Kenneth Gainwell. So I'm kind of wondering right now, he's only gotten one target in the half. I'm wondering if maybe we might even have to scale down a little bit, maybe just look at something maybe like a reception prop instead. But if they're in a hurry up, I'm seeing 18-1 right now for an anytime touchdown for for Kenneth. wondered if maybe there's any value on him, or maybe we have to look at something else here, maybe like a reception prop. Because I feel like as they get going, especially if they're going to be passing, like I'm just not sure how much usage Saquon is going to get.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So Kenneth Gainwell, I'm just looking at his receptions. It's ghosted out. Let me check on this other site, and I don't even see him listed. So I don't think we'll be able to do a reception prop. And we're not quite showing value on his touchdown. Like I said, the only Eagle we have value on is Johnny Wilson.
Okay. Yeah, it's very
Not feeling
thin
too great
value
about
though.
that. Yeah,
Well, it's
it's
just
thin.
thin, right? Like, and
Yeah.
again, you're probably only going to get like one opportunity, and I just don't. I'm not sure if that's worth it at plus 750, even if he is pretty big pass catcher out of
All right. Well, here's what I'll
so
say.
yeah.
We technically show value on it. So if you're watching, give us a thumbs up. And if you decide to bet it, that is your own call, but it's not an official bet what happens live bet. But yeah, it
Lean.
is
Yeah, like
some thin value there on Johnny Wilson anytime touchdown. But don't forget to give us the thumbs up. So Gilles, I do think this Packers Vikings game has now hit halftime. So
mhm.
let's
We can move over.
transition. Yeah, let's transition over to that one. Tell me what you're thinking about that game while I update the live money lines and game states here.
Well, so far what we've seen is just a complete beatdown. I think Jordan Love, it's not necessarily the mobility, but some of these throws, it just the Vikings defense again has just been really tricky. They've been forcing pretty much interceptions on every quarterback coming into this game. So right now, like the immediate guy that I wanted to look at was a guy that we always like to bet was Jaden Reed. He's actually off the board right now at some
Oh,
spots. He's off the board. So I'm kind of wondering what's going on here. If like, I don't think he's hurt, but just want to check here. So, yeah, I don't see him there. He might be hurt. So I didn't see that news. And if there is news about that, post that in the chat so that way people know not to chase down Jaden Reed.
exactly. And that'll affect our that'll affect potential usages as well if there is something going on there. But uh I mean,
So
Jaden Reed scored a touchdown, so maybe he's under the 2+ touchdowns. I don't know.
yeah, oh, that's why I missed it because we
There
were
you go.
focused. I didn't miss see.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
how
I
it
was
goes.
gonna say I didn't think
I'm
I'd
happy
seen
about that. I
anything.
have him for 2 touchdowns on the touchdown show earlier today.
That's
So if
right.
we can
That's
get a
right. You
second one,
do.
I'll be very happy about that. But yeah, so you know, harmless mistake. It happens. All right, so let's now look at Jordan Love. Let's just take a look at what he's done so far. So in this game, 50% passing, 2 picks, sacked only once, but been pressured quite a bit through this game.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to have to throw a little bit more in the second half. Right now, a lot of the Green Bay props are certain books that are kind of off the board right now. Even like Jordan Love's prop right now is not even up at FanDuel for a passing prop. So
Yeah.
right now, Jaden Reed has 47 receiving yards. Most of that was off of one big catch, like a 34 receiving yards. Even though I'm obviously one of the more biggest Jaden Reed fans, 86 and a half yards in the second half when you're trailing by 4 scores. Now, Green Bay, I believe, is getting the ball, but that feels a tad high. I'm wondering, like, I know that obviously he has explosion. He could do that on one play, but is there any value on looking on maybe on an under on Jaden Reed from a yardage standpoint
Yeah. What'd you say the line was? 86 and a half?
for receiving yards? Yeah.
Yeah. We have
87
58,
and a half now.
87 and a half. We have almost 60% to the under. Now, Green Bay does start with the ball, but again, this is a 3-score game. If they can't score here and Minnesota does score, we're looking at a point where maybe some starters could be rested. So there's probably even extra value on the under than the 60% we're already showing. So let's take Jaden Reed under 87 and a half receiving
Let's
yards.
put our hand over the flame. I
And
love
that
it.
is at minus 114 at FanDuel. So make sure to shop that around. As always, we're only able to, check what books we can quickly check because we have our dashboard on, but then I need to double check and make sure those lines are actually still up and not like ghosted out or pulled off the board and stale, things like that. So Jaden Reed under 87 and a half receiving yards is our first one for Green Bay versus Minnesota. What else are we looking at?
Well, the next one I was looking at it, and you're talking about resting starters. Emmanuel Wilson, who's been backing up Josh Jacobs, only a few carries so far, but he's at 9 rushing yards. The over-under is at 16 and a half. And I'm just kind of thinking if we get to the fourth quarter and they get the ball, they might just have to just Like, I just
Yeah.
not sure. They might just wave the white flag and just say, let the rookies do their thing.
Let's
So
do
I'm just
it.
kind of
We're showing over 60% over at 16 and a half. And again, with the backup theory, that there could be even more potential for an over. So let's take Emmanuel Wilson over 16 and a half rushing yards, minus 114 at FanDuel. Once again, as always, shop those around, see what you can find. But if that's what you got, that's a good one to take.
should we start looking at touchdown props for this
We
game?
should. We definitely
Yeah,
should.
because one of the most popular touchdown props coming into this week for the entire slate was Aaron Jones, and he was around plus 135. Right now, I'm showing about plus 460 at FanDuel, and right now at DraftKings, about only plus 270. When they've gotten to the red zone, they've been throwing. If
We're
we're getting
taking
to
plus 460. We're taking plus
okay,
460.
okay, just
Okay.
cut me off if we get to that point because it's
We're
like,
taking plus 460, half a unit at FanDuel.
thank you.
Aaron Jones touchdown. We're showing plus 230 as fair. Now, obviously, some of that could be reduced if the starters end up being pulled, but you get the idea. That's a long enough ways away that I'm happy, even if Aaron Jones doesn't play most of the fourth quarter, right? We should still take that because he'll have all the third quarter and probably a little bit of the fourth quarter to have some chances at hitting that touchdown
And Ty Chandler
in a
hasn't really
revenge
touched the
game.
ball. Well, that's exactly what I was about to say. Is there might be a little bit of extra motivation in the second half for him to get one, and Ty Chandler hasn't really touched the ball at all. Like, he's had a couple targets, or sorry, one target, one catch, 8 yards,
Yep.
2 carries, 5 yards. He hasn't really been used at all. And Darnold been very effective throwing the ball so far, 11 for 15 for 136 yards.
Yeah.
What's the pace of play right now for the Vikings? Are we kind of looking at that they're going to still throw the ball in the second half, or are they leaning more to a run
They're
script,
definitely going to
even
be
given the score?
run heavy. We're going to have them about 13% more run heavy than their pregame projection. But to be fair, their pregame projection was around 60% pass. So that puts them at around 46, 47% passing still rest of game. And as far as just pace of play, this is just going to be a relatively neutral pace of play. Minnesota and Green Bay don't combine to play a whole lot slower, a whole lot faster in this multi-score situation.
So that was my next question, because I was trying to find rushing attempts and I can't really find it right now, but I do see rushing yards for Sam Darnold right now. And Sam Darnold has 8 rushing yards. He's only run the one time, but again, 10 and a half over under at FanDuel, but it's over under 8.5 at DraftKings. Obviously, we could have the kneel outs. That's obviously a big thing that I'm a little bit worried about. But I'm wondering if maybe he might not even be out there for the middle of the fourth quarter if they're up, and maybe it's
Yeah.
the backup in. So what's the
Let's do
value
it.
looking at? Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's take over 8.5 rushing yards for
It's
Sam
at minus
Darnold.
125 right now at DraftKings.
Yeah, minus 125 at DraftKings. Sam Darnold over 8.5 rushing yards. Because I agree with you. I think if this game stays out of hand, well, it looks like it might be. Hold on, let me just pull it up here. Yeah, it's still good. Minus 125 at DraftKings. Sam Darnold over 8.5 rushing yards. But I agree with you. Kneeling it out could be the backup, right? So this might be a spot where we don't even have to worry about the Sam Darnold potential kneel downs. It only needs is one more rushing attempt, essentially, that doesn't go for negative yards to get this. So I like it. I like it. We're going to go Sam
Yeah.
Darnold over 8.5 rushing yards, minus 125. Not too worried about the kneel downs.
Yeah. So we got Darnold rush yards. We got Emmanuel Wilson rush yards. We got Aaron Jones touchdown, and we're
By the
fading
way,
Jaden Reed.
touchdown for Philadelphia. So that was kind of what we were hoping for, forcing Tampa Bay to maybe need to throw it a little bit more. And that
Jalen
touchdown
Hurts.
was Jalen Hurts, a 1 yard run. But any last thing on Vikings Packers before we wrap it up?
I think we're good, man. I think we've got the script. I really like the way that we've laid this out. We've got a nice balance of bets here for the
Mhm.
Eagles and along with this. So I think I think we have a nice card here.
One more thing I do want to look at real quick, just for my own curiosity. It's not on. Okay, so I was going to look at Jordan Love interceptions, but all Jordan Love passing props are down, probably because potential backup situation. He has been hurt, so we'll have to see what happens there. So that'll do it for Bet What Happens Live for this 1 p.m. Eastern window. Make sure to hit the thumbs up because it looks like some of the things that are coming true in Philly, Tampa Bay, what we needed is looking good there. And I will be back with Grant for the Monday Night Football doubleheader. We'll be doing both games of Bet What Happens Live. Gilles, good luck to you, audience. Good luck to you, and enjoy the rest of the games, everyone.